Please remain silent in the audience. The meeting will start momentarily.
Somebody reach.
She's in Las Vegas.
Oh, no. No wonder she's answering me.
She's in Vegas.
Times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Board of Water and Power Commissioners, please say present for roll call. Commissioner NURIT KATZ, Commissioner LEHRER.
Yes.
Present, okay.
Yes.
President KATZ,
Present.
Vice President MCGRAW,
Present.
Commissioner PINDER. 3 board members, a quorum is present. Mr. President.
Thank you. First, welcome everyone to this special meeting that we called because we had some issues with production of notice requirements, et cetera, that precluded us from meeting this morning. And so I apologize for that, and we're making sure that doesn't happen again, but we got everything appropriately before us now. And I remember being informed early that generally the second meeting in July is not a meeting for most of the city of LA, and I insisted that we go ahead and have it, and now I know why people don't do that. So sometime next July, no second meeting. We'll stay with the tradition in that. Items point 2 and point 4 are called special by Mr. MCGRAW. Got those?
2 and 4, yeah.
2 and 4.
All right, I guess first item up is we're supposed to do an election of officers. That's sort of weird with 3 out of 5 board members. Anybody want to make a motion?
I move to nominate Richard KATZ, the board president.
And George MCGRAW as the vice chair. It's both.
Oh, it's both at once?
No, but
sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Unless anybody has an objection, which would be down to me at this point. But any other nominations without objection, all members present being recorded as aye votes.
3 ayes, motion adopted.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, 3 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you. Any comments, George or Mia? Any comments?
None.
Okay.
Thanks for asking.
All right. Thank you. Public comment. Okay.
Public comment is now open at this time. Speakers, please be mindful you will have 2 minutes to speak. The first speaker will be Mickey Jackson, who will be followed by Stanley Chapman.
Hello, yes, here we are. Late in July, just us. I'm here.
Only the Hardy.
I'm
the Hardy here today.
Pardon?
Only the Hardy are here.
Only the Hardy, the stubborn. Here we are. I'm with Healthy Housing Foundation, AIDS Healthcare Foundation, and I'm here to talk about something I think you've all heard about before, which is our trouble getting enough power to some of our housing, single room only housing in Skid Row area and around. We're having, as I'm sure everyone here is very aware, we're having a terrible crisis in homelessness. We can't believe that several years after we opened, for instance, the main one I'll talk about is the Barclay. We have opened that. We have about 100 vacant units that we cannot put people in. People are living on the sidewalk all around us, and we can't bring them inside because we don't have enough power. We don't have enough electricity. And we've been dealing with this situation with the DWP now for some time, some years, and we're told another 2 years and another 2 years. And it's really a crisis, and we're not acting enough like it's a crisis. There needs to be some kind of workaround, some kind of temporary things. We can't have good licensed housing going vacant when people are on the street, and in this kind of heat, people die on the street. It is terrible. And, you know, I listen constantly, and I hear from messages from the city and everyone, go electric, everything must be electric, cars electric, stoves electric. And I'm sitting here thinking, everything has to be electric, but we can't get electric power for years to homeless housing? There's something wrong. There's a serious disconnect. Most of the public, if I talk to anybody, they can't believe that this is going on. They can't believe it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Stanley Chapman, who will be followed by Richard Fannin.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Stanley Chapman. I'm here to concur with Mickey Jackson. It's a problem. And I know the DWP does not want to represent this kind of problem. I personally had many experiences with DWP, and I've always had excellent service. Excellent service. They've helped. I manage a condo complex in the San Fernando Valley. They helped us out with a lot of things. I've used DWP for my own personal use as far as rebates and things like that. So I know this doesn't represent the DWP. I think somebody from the DWP should take the information down, get with somebody at the DWP to fix this. I know the DWP doesn't want to stand for this, or doesn't want the word on the street that the DWP can't supply power to a residential unit where they can't fill the units because there's not enough power to run it. Does that make sense to anybody sitting out here? Does it? It doesn't. Because I know the DWP has the power and the will, and they strive for good customer service because I've experienced it. I've experienced it. So I would implore you to get the information, get somebody to fix this. It's as simple as that. It shouldn't take years to get power. Department of Water and Power shouldn't be going without providing power to the citizens of Los Angeles. It's as simple as that. So please, I know you can do it because you've done it for my condo association. You've helped us immensely. So I know you strive for quality, excellent customer service. It's not that, it shouldn't be a problem. You're the Department of Water and Power. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
We will look into it.
The next speaker is Richard Fannin, who will be followed by Veronica Padilla.
Good afternoon. I'm an attorney. I represent a developer in Los Angeles, Arroyo 57 LLC. The president, Marisa Solis, is present with me. We are in the process of developing 12 residential housing units at 175 South Avenue 57, Los Angeles, California. We have a pending matter. We're asking for a waiver of a fee for relocating a fire hydrant. Right now, the fire hydrant has to be moved. It was put in the wrong position between either an error on the part of DWP or a miscommunication between DWP and the developers. The cost of that is approximately $50,000, which for a major developer is no big deal. We're talking about a minority-owned, female-owned small developer. And we're asking DWP to do two things: to waive the approximately $50,000 for moving the fire hydrant, and to get this done quickly, because we can't do any further work on this project, which is close to completion, which will mean 12 more residential units in the city, which we all need, we all know we need. So we're asking for a waiver We filed a complaint, we filed a letter, we've done what we can to do this, and we want to know who we can follow up with, and we want to know when action can be taken on moving the fire hydrant and the waiver of the approximately $50,000 that it costs.
Quick question for you, if you might.
Sure.
Fire hydrant's been there a while, I assume.
It has.
When you created, when the plans for the building were created, they didn't take into account where the fire hydrant was? It didn't, because it doesn't get up and move, I'm pretty
No,
sure.
it does not at all.
Or we'd have an
But
easy solution
It
here.
was supposed to be on one side, the south side, not the north side. And there was a lack of communication between the placing of it there and the developers. And, you know, I don't like to place blame on anybody and say it's your fault or not, but it was done, and it was done incorrectly. Now it needs to be moved. We're not challenging that at all. It needs to be moved because there's not enough access space in the driveway.
Okay.
But we're saying that the $50,000 should be borne by DWP rather than the developers that are trying to get this completed and to add to the housing market in Los Angeles.
This is market rate housing?
It is market rate housing. Yes.
We already paid the fee, and it was, the plan shows it needs to be on the south side of the property, and somehow somebody decided to move it without our approval. So we already paid the fee, so paying the fee again, it will be a tremendous damage to me and my family, because we don't have the money to pay that. And the whole project is a full stop, which I'm spending like $60,000 a month to maintain that project.
And how close to completion are you?
2 weeks.
Okay.
So Anselmo will follow up with.
Yeah, I'll take care of it. So what I'll need is to get your contact information. I'll give you my card so you can call me. Sounds like you submitted some information to the department previously. If you have a copy, I'll take it now. And I'll give you my card and we can get in contact.
Gentleman's a lawyer, he has copies of everything. But thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks so much. I will follow up. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Veronica Padilla.
Ms. Padilla.
Good afternoon. It's good to be here. I haven't been here in many years. But I'm here to ask for your support, and they put item 4. I'm not sure if it's the right one, but it's for the stormwater capture parks that are, most of them or all of them are in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, and just wanted to express how important these parks are for our community. They're more than just an infrastructure project. These are transformative projects for our communities, especially because we need more parks. But I'm particularly wanting to speak on David Gonzalez Park because through our Transformative Climate Communities grant, we worked with the community to develop a project for that park. But because of our timelines and DWP's timeline, it didn't work for us to execute that project. But DWP has promised to work with us to use that design that our communities have worked towards and implement it into theirs. So I hope that we get to see that project implemented into the work that you all are doing, but really just thank you for, selecting our parks in our communities, and look forward to the celebration when we open them.
Thank you, Veronica. Good to see you, and keep up the good work. And I know that park. That's my old district, and I know that park well. And we will see what we can do to get this done.
There was one e-comment that was submitted to all commissioners. Public comment is officially closed at this time.
Okay, thank you. Next up is a briefing from the Chief Executive Officer and Chief Engineer.
Thank you, President KATZ, and good afternoon. A couple of organizational changes and announcements. Last time I announced that John Smith is our new Chief Administrative Officer. With that, we have appointed Keith Hall as the Interim Director of Fleet and Aviation Services, backfilling behind John. And he will continue to work to ensure the maintenance and dispatch of reliable fleet to support the needs of the department. He has 10 years of dedicated service and experience in LADWP, especially in fleet and aviation services, so we're happy to have him fill that important role. We also named my utility executive secretary, Samantha Lopez-Ryan, last week, and she has been a great addition to my office, helping with a lot of the paperless processes that we're updating and continuous improvements in the office and making sure that we're on time for submittals to the board, submittal to meetings, and really managing the performance of the process for the whole department. Then we have a couple of realignments. We moved the Distributed Energy Solutions Division that used to report on their power. Now it's moving back to customer service. They have a lot of the energy efficiency demand response programs that are customer facing, and it's a better alignment to make sure that our customers get a comprehensive solution package whenever they contact the department. Lots of great things happening on that department and more to come. So a lot of interaction between both water and power and our customers through this group. And that group is led by David Jaco. And then we also moved the Corporate Performance Division, which will be reporting under Jason Rondeau, my Chief of Staff. That organization is going to start developing KPIs and dashboards on the operational metrics for the whole department to ensure that we have a holistic picture of how we're doing operationally, safety, and other performance areas that are critical for our success. That's changes in the department. I'll expect some more coming in the future months as we continue to align the department and stabilize the organization. We went last week with Commissioner NURIT KATZ to the Heat Relief for Seniors Resource Fair in Watts. It was a great event, attended over 600 elderly, low-income residents on that community, where we were able to donate about 600 AC units as part of our Cool LA initiative. That helps maintain the health of our communities, since due to the extreme heat and heat waves that we're seeing, their health is being impacted. So we were happy to support them with that, as well as enrolling them in our low-income Easy Safe program and our level pay plan, so that they get a full package on the benefits for our communities, disadvantaged communities. I also was able to attend the Intermountain Power Project and the IPP Renew with you, President KATZ, and Aaron and Simon, Jason and others in Mayor's office. It's an impressive tour. I'll give you a minute to talk about it, but that facility is moving from our last coal fuel generation plant into hydrogen. So when you think about moving from coal to hydrogen, you skip a lot of steps on the technology. Very impressive, the progress that the team has done, the safety record, the maturity of the storage system for hydrogen. I think we were very impressed just with the housekeeping, the pride of the operational team, and how we're moving from a not so clean technology to a high clean technology. So if you want to speak about that project.
It's a good thing there's energy resources there, because I'm not sure what else you would do with that part of the world.
Yes.
After having been there last week. But you're right, the operation and all the people out there are very, very impressive. The professionalism, the caring, the knowledge. You guys all built a great team out there, and it was great talking to them and seeing. It was also great seeing the coal pile shrinking to almost nothing. Though I don't know that you'll ever get it out of everything there. But the notion that you can go from coal all the way to hydrogen and use the thing I found most fascinating, salt caverns, some of which are as deep as the Empire State Building is tall, to store hydrogen is just amazing. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking forward to that happening starting next year, I believe. And it's the future. And that's, I believe, You told me it's 300 megawatts of hydrogen coming out of there when we're up and operating?
It's 845.
The entire unit, the 3,000 was the other renewable around there.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
845.
845, okay, sorry.
Yeah, 2
And then
units.
3,000 from potential wind or anybody else, what's going on in that area?
Yeah,
So-
we're opening space on our transmission lines to connect more renewables as we go from, I think, 1,400 megawatts to 843 in hydrogen, and then have space for the other renewable assets in the area. So really incredible, and the plan is to get to 100% hydrogen by 2045, and we're one of the first, if not the first utility to get a hydrogen project of this magnitude, which is incredible too.
Hydrogen scale is unique at
Yes.
this point, so.
And we have a lot to learn from this project for other hydrogen projects, which I'm very excited about. Then we had our second employee town hall last week, and it was highly attended. I think it was about, Joe, was it 200 people in person and about 1,400 on the WebEx?
Yes.
And then we maxed out the WebEx, so we'll have two other, open another WebEx channel for the next one. We do this every month on the third Thursday to share topics so our coworkers know what other teams are working on. And on this specific one, we were talking about the 2028 Olympics and Paralympic Games and the planning that we're doing for that, and the water infrastructure plan and the 5-year plan that we have on the water side. So the team was really engaged, lots of good questions from the audience. And I think it was really good to see the teams talk about the work they do every day with so much pride and ownership. So I think that's a win for us. And Joe, I don't know if you want to add anything based on your impression of the town halls.
Yeah, I think employees from an internal communication standpoint, hearing and learning about topics that, frankly, may only be aired here occasionally or once or twice a year. We've gotten really nice feedback from employees who've attended it. We also share it afterward, and we tape it and post it on the intranet and share it via email, so we get a lot of views afterward as well. It's been a real welcome addition to be able to share information across the organization and highlight some of the major initiatives and successes of our crews. The last one, we played the video on the water tap-off competition, and everybody enjoyed it a great deal, as well as hearing about the Olympics, which I think people appreciated given the timeliness of the Olympics.
It's also helpful in breaking down silos, which everybody needs to do. And, this organization is no different, but this is a great way to help move that along, so.
Yeah, it's a great event. I look forward every month to do it. It's a good way of engaging with our coworkers and have meaningful conversations. And lastly, tomorrow we have our Workday Expo. Workday is our new tool, IT tool that we're deploying for HR systems, finance, payroll, and safety. We have many tools that are obsolete or past their life cycle time, and so this is our approach to go to cloud-based tools and use more digital tools for our coworkers. And so we're expected to go live for part of the deployment in January of next year and the next in June of 25. But tomorrow we have a day of engagement with our coworkers, showing them the tools, get to play with them, get a feel for it, and we've been doing a lot of change management and engagement with our coworkers so they understand what's coming. This is the beginning of many digital tools that we have to deploy, so I've been very engaged on the Workday deployment and making sure that we have what we need to ensure a seamless deployment and transition to our of cloud and digital tools. So.
Can I get my abacus back now?
No. I threw it away when I came in
No,
here.
thank you. Wonder where that went.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Janice.
I want to say that I did participate in the WebEx or just listened in, and I was incredibly impressed. And especially the Olympics preparation, quite a daunting task it seems. And just to hear everybody go through it, so, presentations were fantastic. So it puts things in perspective in terms of, you wonder if you want to have won the Olympics. It's complicated. really complicated, and the world's going to be looking at us. But maybe it's a great sort of challenge that I think we're ready for that challenge. Let's put it that way.
We have to be ready. And so I think the part that it's good is that it engaged the whole coworker workforce on the priorities of the department. You know, we get to make sure the power is on and the water's flowing, and then transfer to an LA 100 strategy. And in the middle there, you got the Olympics and Super Bowl and World Cup, right? And so a lot of like cool key initiatives that require everybody's involvement into making LADWP successful in the city of LA.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it is the ultimate in challenges.
It's a regional challenge.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an intense challenge, and we'll have a much better idea in about 3 weeks of exactly what this is all going to look like, and what we have to do as the Paris Olympics kick off on Friday. So, should be interesting. Should be interesting. Dr. Pickle, you're up. Thank you, Janine.
We have a repeat of our prior comments on items 2, 3, and 4 concerning stormwater. To simplify the discussion, one.
What to say? It was the same as last time.
Same report as last time, but to simplify the discussion, one, money that's related to park improvements should be paid for by parks, not by DWP. It's an unfortunate constitutional amendment, but it is a constitutional amendment for the state. And any details on that, I will defer to Ben Chapman. The other component is we should make sure we have the funds in hand so that the cost-benefit ratio is below 1. That is, it's benefit to our water customers before we go ahead. And having the funds available should be applied as strictly as we can, that is, received by the city and allocated to DWP. And I understand there are challenges in that with regards to Major W, and I'm sure we can find a way to make it work, to make sure we get and use the Major W money, but we have to have it in some way understood it will be in the door, or we won't go spend beyond what's in the door.
Okay, thank you, Fred. Any other comments? Ben?
Would you
want to jump into
would
this?
you like me to speak now, or would you like me to wait? It's still
go ahead.
Okay. I did want to speak briefly about Prop 218, which Dr. Pickle just raised. Prop 218, Article 13D, Section 6, gives substantive requirements regarding property-related fees, which includes water. The two most significant for this purpose are that revenues derived from the fee shall not be used for any purpose other than that, for which the fee was imposed. And then also that, number 2, that revenues from the fee shall not exceed the funds required to provide that service. Based on my understanding, and I'm sure there'll be a presentation later that we'll discuss it, but from reading the materials, there appears to be about 80 million in Measure W funds. And again, based on my understanding, the park improvements, the cost would be significantly less than that. So that raises 2 issues for me. Number 1 is, can Measure W funds be used for park improvements? And the answer to that appears to be yes. For example, if you go on their website for Measure W, it talks about how regional infrastructure projects are much likelier to get funding if they have multiple benefits for our communities. Then they give 2 examples: a baseball diamond with water collecting cisterns hitting beneath the field, or green spaces like Magic Johnson Park can clean and capture stormwater while providing other benefits to local communities. These projects would seem to fit perfectly into those examples. Number 2, and then if you actually look at Los Angeles County Flood Control District Code Section 16.05A3, that lists what funds cannot be used for. And it doesn't list anything like this, obviously, given that they want it to be used for parks. Number 2, the second part of this would be, To the extent someone could argue that Measure W funds, well, they should just be used to offset the project in general and not necessarily park improvement funds. I think the argument would be that if you look at Measure W, when you apply for the funds, part of the scoring includes 10 points for community investment benefits. And if you read what that says, it says the creation, enhancement, or restoration of parks, habitat, or wetlands, and enhanced or new recreational opportunities. So to the extent the department is able to get these Measure W funds, one would argue that it's the park improvements themselves that allow us to get those funds. So in light of those two factors, I think it would be appropriate for Measure W funds to be used for park improvements, and then that would prevent ratepayer funds from being used for those same improvements. So from my perspective going forward, what I would suggest, and we're working with Anselmo and his group on other ideas, but certainly I think that we would need to be tracking, and this I think is what Dr. Pickle is focused on, is tracking that our Measure W funds exceed whatever we spend on park improvements, and whether that's through, regular updates to the board, or whether that's through an amendment to the resolution that would potentially state that park improvements can only be done so long as we have Measure W funds that cover those park improvements. We've talked about contract, that's another potential option. So that would be, those would be some of my suggestions to address Dr. Pickle's issues.
Yeah, you and I talked about that the other day, about the idea of putting an amendment in when we get to that part that makes it clear that we will not exceed what's available through Measure W, just as an additional layer of protection and compliance. So, but when we get to that item, we'll add that in.
Thank you.
With the board's approval. So, okay.
I think in terms of, some of the other concerns, not related to Prop 218, but instead related to the cost benefit of the particular volume of water. I spent a lot of time talking to folks, including Ben, and thinking about this. I mean, it is our responsibility, as far as I see it, as a department to have a diversified water portfolio to make sure that we can continue to ensure service and quality of service to our ratepayer base, not just at this point in time, but in perpetuity, and understanding the kind of outsized impact climate change is going to have. We really need to do our best to diversify that, and that will mean that upfront some of these water sources may be more expensive than other water sources in our mix, but it's not really, in my mind, comparing apples to oranges, because 30 years from now, when these projects are complete, we may be comparing apples to nothing. Those other resources may not be available to us. I'm also thinking about the decision that this board and others had to make to create our existing water mix between groundwater, water we purchase from MWD, water that comes down from the aqueduct. I mean, obviously, there's a massive price differential between those three water sources alone. And just because there's a difference in price between those three water sources didn't keep us from developing those water sources originally. We had the same intent, which was to create enough flexibility and durability in the system that we could continue to deliver high-quality service no matter what the weather, climatological, seismic, or other impacts might, affect our system. So I'm thinking of this, Dr. Pickle, in that way. This isn't just about, another water source that would be maybe nice to have, and therefore sort of we're comparing apples to apples, and this apple is just more expensive than that apple. It seems to me like there's a real existential necessity to develop water sources like this, and while they might be more complex or more expensive up front, just like developing some water sources like the aqueduct were more expensive or complex up front, they are necessary to sustain the city into sort of the climatological reality that we face. And I thought I'd just share that thinking before voting.
Great, thank you. Along that same line, and as I mentioned, when we get to the item later, but wearing a previous hat of mine as a board member at Heal the Bay. Heal the Bay is about to finally open a park in Current Prices Council District, which, if anybody's been to Current Prices Council District, redefines the concrete jungle. I mean, it is block after block after block after block of concrete. And very few trees and very few shrubs or parks. But with a Measure W grant for a subsurface water storage unit and a bunch of donated trees and property in Gila Bay, raising money, and some Northern California money from the Department of Parks and Recreation. That community is now going to have a block-long park in an area that, you can't find a park. So, but it's also a great example of why we want people to conserve water, whether there's a drought or not, because there are purposes for that water besides just running it down the drain. So, I'm very pleased that project is only 10 years in the making. So,
What's the name of it?
Inell Woods Park.
In All Woods?
Inell, INELL, Woods Park. Yep. So,
I would like to bring up one other factor, and that's schools. For many neighborhoods, the schools are an opportunity to sort of be outdoors, and for children, families to be outdoors, and they are also that there have been projects that have been implemented with Measure W funds in schools, which have been very well received and very successful. So we don't have to have a long conversation now, because I haven't followed up as to how those funds have been deployed during the BB, sort of era. Where Soberoff was the head of the BB committee, there was a lot of those, some of that funding was sort of implemented in the schools. So the schoolyards, instead of being asphalt, imagine, now you had play fields with water.
Supposed to be heat islands.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Nope, good points. Other comments? Okay. Well, I won't take that now. That was a little weird, but okay, we're now, where are we? Let's see, items on F, items for consideration. What have I got?
Your block vote would be for items 1 and 3, and then you would call items 2 and 4 special.
Okay, let's do items 1 and 3 first.
Hold on.
I'm ready, with that conversation, I'm ready to vote on all of it,
Okay.
if everyone else is.
Okay, Ben,
Yeah, well, because I think.
I meant to call 2, 3, and 4 special.
I was going to say, I think three would be where the resolution amendment would go if you want to make one.
Okay.
on the Measure W?
Yeah, I'm just looking real quick.
And, Ben, I would really like to make I would like to take up that recommendation and make that resolution, edit that addition, but I also would like to take up your recommendation, both that we, ensure that happens through the contracting process, and also set up a reporting mechanism to the board on the delta between Measure W, or really any outside grant funds, and the cost of the community improvements that aren't directly attributable to the water service.
For a reminder, that delta is the total cost, capital cost of these projects is about $300 million. Mm-hmm. And after all the net potential grants, that reduces the net cost to 133. And at that point, only 3 of the projects pass the cost benefit test at that point. So there's more work to be done on ways to manage this. I think the key component you're proposing is there should be report backs, and this will require further discussion by the board.
Specifically, I'm talking about the delta between the community benefits part of these projects and the money that we have available to cover those, so that we don't run into a 218 issue. The larger question of the cost benefit calculation, I don't have an additional opinion on right now. I think I'm ready to move forward with these projects as they are.
Okay, well, first, let me just clarify. Ben, you said the amendment would go on item 3?
I think that's right. I don't know if Anselmo, you disagree, and I think maybe we should give Anselmo a chance to review them I'm still as I am.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, so item number 3 is the one that's agreement with Bureau Engineering, who will be the one doing the contracting and managing the construction. So if there's a desire by the board, a direction by the board to put language that ensures that we are reporting back, that will be the admin to put it into, I would say. So,
It'd be both the report back, but also the guarantee that we don't exceed the Measure W money.
Park improvements.
I would say that would be the item to put it into.
Okay.
And also, as far as reporting is concerned, I can commit to having reports to the board on a quarterly basis once construction starts, so you can see the progress, as well as there's any additional funding that we're able to secure, we'll be able to show that as well, to show that we are, as much as possible, defraying costs to our ratepayers, as we have been doing already. We secured $165 million, and we'll continue to pursue additional avenues for additional outside funding for the program.
Right.
That's a better way for us to do early warning, saying that we're on track or we're not, so that way we can have the conversation before we get there.
That sounds good. And and we should note that, going forward, any contracts that involve Measure W money ought to have these requirements in them. And I think, any contracts at all that where we're getting money from outside sources or there are constraints on it, for exactly that reason, about having early warning system before we find out we have, earth movers out there and no money. Not a good look for anybody.
Yeah.
But I think we should be, just make that note that we will be adding that, and Ben, with your help, will make sure that goes into all those contracts going forward. So, with the report to the board. So without objection, that amendment will go into item 3. And now we have all 4 items before us. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
I move to adopt items 1 through 4.
By Mr. George, a second by Ms. LEHRER.
Yes,
And all members present being recorded as aye votes as amended. That'll be adopted. Moving right along. Item G, management reports.
We don't have any today because we deferred.
Yep. Okay. Any reports by commissioners on committee activity? Moving right along. Filed items, compliance status, anything? Nothing?
Filed by the board secretary.
I'm sorry?
Filed items have been ordered filed.
Okay.
I do want to thank the ARM's office and Eugenice for the filed item on the NOC list. It's really nice to have some visibility at the board level as to what that list looks like, how many. I really appreciate that it was organized by all of them, the date they got on that list, how long they've been on that list, and also how many have been added since the last update. I think it's going to be really helpful to have that. That high level of visibility. I did notice, obviously, that we do still have some NFCs, particularly in the West Division, that have been on that list for a really long time.
Yeah.
So I look forward to kind of digging into that together and seeing what we can do to move things forward.
Yeah, and this is meant to have a conversation, so any suggestions to improve that report. But I just want to take a second to just say thank you to Anselmo and Evelyn on actually putting a lot of effort on those 7 contracts that we have. That's going to be a huge move on these projects that we have, and we've had a great meeting with Local 18, and we're almost, I could see the light.
I can see it too.
That's what I've heard.
It's getting bigger and bigger.
A lot of good work and a lot of collaboration and a lot of give and take, and we're almost there where we have an LOA that's going to be signed that will be used as a template, and we'll move forward. So once we get the NOC, we'll probably use the same template to do a lot of the other ones.
Yeah, that's great. I have heard really positive things from our labor partners about engagement with both of you, Anselmo and Evelyn, and I really appreciate that, we're kind of tackling this one and moving forward in a way that's mutually beneficial, because I think that preserving that relationship that we have so uniquely as a utility with our union partners, and being really in partnership with them is so important. So I really appreciate that effort.
Yeah, and like I said last time, the biggest thing out of this whole conversation and collaboration and partnership is that we're going to have a very, very good workforce. That it's going to be highly trained, highly effective, and we could take care of the stuff that we have.
Great. Don't know what to do with all this positivity. It's just, it's nice. It's nice.
This is when you cut the meeting like that.
Close while you're ahead.
We get used to that, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
All right. A motion and a second to approve the minutes from July 9th meeting.
So moved.
Moved and second.
Second.
Yeah, I vote for
Motion
approving that.
adopted.
Any future motions?
None at this time.
We'll know in the future. Neighborhood council.
No community impact statements were filed.
Wow. Okay. Shante, what have I got left?
The agenda is complete.
I'm sorry?
We're complete.
We're complete. So we just have closed session. Right, Ben?
The board shall publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention of every member present thereon in accordance with section 54957.1 of the California Government Code.